the geopolitical tensions, the conflicts that are happening. How do they have any direct or indirect impact on the operations?
It is a danger for every country, only depending on China, because China can become a monopoly and they can play with the pricing, they can play with the supply.
Hi everyone, and welcome to today's episode. When we think about medicines, we usually think about the end products. That is something that we pick up from the pharmacy. But behind every medicine, there goes a lot of decision making, operations, and manufacturing precision. And today, we are diving into one of India's leading pharmaceutical companies, Aurobindo Pharma. Known to be one of the largest producers of generic medicines globally, it is being placed in the international markets. In fact, it's often regarded as one of the leading players in India's pharma export story, especially in United States and Europe. From antibiotics to complex formulations, from APIs to finished dosage forms, the scale and complexity of operations at Aurobindo Pharma is immense. And managing the scale requires not just technical expertise, but sharp operational strategy and decision making. I'm really glad to be joined by the Vice President of Aurobindo Pharma, Nagaseshaya sir. Thank you so much for being here today, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to have a discussion with you.
Yes. And so before we start off, could you please give us a little introduction about yourself and your journey into Aurobindo Pharma?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, myself, Nagaseshaya, and I hail from Kurnool in Andhra Pradesh. I did my graduation B.Pharmacy from Gulbarga University. Then my passion was into industry, not to do any sales and marketing line of activities. So I waited for the opportunities to get into the manufacturing sector. So where I started with a small company in Hyderabad way back in 1988. Then, of course, I started with injectable line of manufacturing. So later on, I migrated to companies like Lupin, Orchid, Hospira, Biocon, Ranbaxy. Currently now I'm into Aurobindo, and I worked in some smaller companies also in between for different experience. So, and my core area was into injectable manufacturing and both into API and dosage forms. So rarely you will have a person with a background of injectable experience in APIs. So that's an area where niche field and where very few companies are working. One of that was Orchid and Aurobindo. So I happened to be in that field. Of course, I did a lot of good work with regulatory audits in all these companies. So of course, so I am here after almost 38 years of experience in manufacturing line.
That's amazing. That's very inspiring. So sir, because you run the head of operations, so if for a layman like me, how would you explain what is operations? How does operations look like?
Yeah. So, you must have definitely heard about any industry. So it is also an industry with a lot of machinery and people. So manufacturing pharma particularly requires a bit of skilled people. So where there are two segments in API manufacturing as well as dosage form manufacturing. So in API manufacturing, more of science-based students and chemical engineering students are required in the manufacturing activities. Whereas in dosage form manufacturing, which we call it as formulations, so where you definitely need most of the pharma students. So, but incidentally, I did my pharmacy, but I got into initially formulations, then later on migrated to API line.
Okay.
So it's not difficult even for a pharmacy student also to get into both the lines. So coming to the operations, so you need to have a lot of training to the new students who are getting into the industry. It is not just possible for them to just get onto the work, whatever they have studied from the college. So definitely it is specified manufacturing skills, operational skills, analytical skills, regulatory knowledge. So many things are there. Of course, there are good opportunities for even engineering students also, particularly for the mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, instrumentation engineers, where a lot of support. These are all the support functions for pharma.
Right.
So there are so many machineries are there. You need to maintain them. You need to ensure that your operations are going smooth without any breakdowns, without any concerns in manufacturing. And we are making drugs.
Right.
So when drugs are made, so for example, if you take a formulation product of say a tablet of a batch size of 6 lakhs tablets,
Right.
for example. So how many tablets are we testing? We are only testing few tablets. So what about remaining tablets quality? So it is all because of the quality assurance coming from manufacturing. So the knowledge of student whoever is getting into the industry is basically with the trainings initially given by the respective pharma company, those who are recruiting them, and initially they need to give the acquaintance of like what are the manufacturing requirements, what sort of quality standards we need to maintain, what sort of transparency is very important, and if there are any deviations have occurred, you need to just come up front and disclose them. Don't need to afraid of hide them, and what will happen if I get into that, I may get punished. Those are all fears which comes into the mind of any new employee joining a company. So it is the responsibility of the company firm to see that the new employee is comfortably given with the training requirements of the manufacturing activity, and safety is another biggest important thing which we need to ensure, particularly in API manufacturing.
Right, because
I'm sure,
we are producing in such large quantities, and we need to maintain the
it's not just only the large quantities. If you take the API manufacturing, where it involves a lot of hazardous chemicals, hazardous reactions, so you need to have a highest safety standard. So, just to take one of the recent incident in Hyderabad only, where a pharma, small, it's not even a core pharma manufacturing. It is a additive manufacturing to be used in, which is used in various pharma product manufacturing. While manufacturing that additive, 55 people have died in one single incident. I think probably in my entire last 35 plus years of my experience, I have never come across such a large death of incident where really surprising, and it doesn't have any very hazardous chemicals also, but the incident happened. So it is basically design. Design is one of the important thing in pharma industry, particularly in API manufacturing. So where how the operation manufacturing places are located, where the other departments are located, in case of emergency, how the escape routes are to be provided, and even in case of any hazardous uncontrolled reaction happening in a reactor, what are the secondary measures we need to have, contain them. So these are all should go into the design. So where the chemical engineers play a key role in designing such operations. So that's why I said it's not just only the science students. Engineering is also equally important in API manufacturing. So, and coming to automation.
Yeah. So automation and AI that we are seeing has
so,
a lot of impact.
Unfortunately, for whatever reasons, technology is evolving, like mobile phones, smartphones, so many things have come in, in IT sector. These are all very advancements have been seen, but in pharma, still that phase was a bit slow. Okay. Maybe for adapting to that, or someone focusing on to that was not so vigorous initially, but now, in last couple of years or few years, including our own, where I'm working on Aurobindo also, we have been seeing a lot of thought process coming out from everyone that we need to do automation. Yes. What happens? This improves the quality, safety, and consistency. Cost of manufacturing comes down, and moreover, what you can see is the delivery happens on time and less errors. So these are all going to be the advantages, but
there might be job losses as well.
No, I don't think that will be the issue. See, there are a lot of physical activities, particularly in API manufacturing. Huge quantity of materials comes in and goes out, and obviously there is a skilled and semi-skilled requirement is there. So automation, yes, I agree. It may hamper, say probably 10% of the impact only will be seen. I'm not sure more than that will be impact. So the advantages what we are going to see is consistency, quality, safety. So these are all going to be, but there is a difficulty for pharma industry, particularly in API. Reason is the chemistry-based reactions, how they behave each time. It's very, very unpredictable. I mean, you may have the best of the best quality testing of raw materials, but still there are some unknown factors because the sensitivity of the reactions is very, very minute. It is difficult to even predict them in some cases. So you may find some concerns coming over that. So in such cases, what happens? We are into a very critical regulatory controls. Compliance is very, very important here. So USFDA, you must have heard about USFDA, which is a very important regulatory body in the world, where most of the pharma companies try to get the approvals of that regulatory body so that you can export your product to US. So when they come for audits, when they see a deviation occurring or a failure occurring, so what happens now? Balancing the audit and balancing the business becomes more critical. So of course, the automation, if you have a process developed from the day one with the automation in mind, and a lot of research work has to undergo before really putting the product onto the shop floor. The negative studies are more important. If you like a reaction has to happen, say for example, between 10 to 15 degrees of temperature range and maybe a 5 bar pressure of some gas pressure. So what happens if for any reason exceeding these two ranges happens, like upper limit or lower limit of the given range, what is the impact to the quality? So those studies are required. So this makes a lot of time in R&D activities. So that is one of the activity where very critically need to be looked at. So earlier days, the level of research was not that effective. How to bring the product into the market and survive. That was the scenario. But today, as companies have established, they are good with resources and technology is available. Even simulations are available, computer-based simulations and reactions are available. So what happens now? It is becoming easier to develop such safety margins to the processes. So it is now definitely industry is focusing to gear up into put automation into the practice. So I'm sure we are also working on many of the automation practices so that errors are going to be less.
Yes. So when we see in operations field, now for example, when we take finance department, now we have something known as like P&L accounts, and also that gives you your net profit. So in operations field, do you have any like key indicators or signals that basically tell you like how the progress is going, or if you're facing any challenges?
Yeah. So at senior level like us, yes, we do involve in how to ensure that profitability of the site. Of course, it definitely helps in the organizational profits and business. So we are responsible for the yields. So minimum failures. So these are all going to be the losses. If there is a yield loss, it's directly impacting on the profitability of the product. So we need to work on, we need to have the knowledge of bit of finance. So that's where many companies, including Aurobindo, we have been given training for the senior leadership of the site as well as at different levels of corporate. Though we are basically into core technical people, but with a bit of knowledge, like finance for non-finance people. So we have been given trainings on that. So what is P&L account, how the ROI works out. So we are all given such trainings, and we do monitor profitability every month for the site. Of course, the finance department, they collate all the information and then they share that. Then we also need to control our budgets. Because we have a lot of revenue expenditure on a day-to-day basis for operations.
So some consumables. We need to be cost efficient with whatever you're
true. So see, now there is a purchase department who sources the revenue items, consumables, for example. But ultimately, there are certain technically critical components which are to be used in the manufacturing. So for that, the knowledge of the quality of various such suppliers will be mostly with the experienced technical people at the site than the procurement team. So as seniors at site, technically, we evaluate, we go to exhibitions, we see pharma seminars, and where we come across such different products, then we take that into our processes and see that whether suitability of that new technology or new consumable or new product is suitable for our systems and for our processes. Based on that, we recommend let us go to this product and try it out. So we propose it to our purchase. Then what are the competitors for these products? So evaluate them and see. It's all like mutual teamwork from both the technical people as well as finance or procurement team, basically. So all it's not one person who can decide just like that. So a lot of finance knowledge also is required for the operations people, certainly.
Yes. And so how flexible are the operations and like manufacturing domains are? Because we see that a lot of, like the COVID pandemic that came up. So we need to come, I don't think you guys had time to even think about it. Though we as general, we did have time. But, the pharma industry had to take the stand. So what were the first operational challenges that you faced?
Yeah. See, pandemic was really a surprise and shock to the industry, yes. For every industry for that matter. So as a pharma, first priority was for us the employees' care. So what company has immediately did, provided accommodations in the vicinity itself if it is possible for most of the people. And second is sanitization, providing mask mandatory, maintaining the distance, then conducting meetings only through systems. So that was where technology really started using by the pharma industry, I can say. Earlier probably we used to meet physically, but the pandemic has made us to even make meetings through Microsoft Teams and many other such tools, which we have done that, and that is becoming a norm now. Continuous, we are doing that. Of late, continuously. So that is the first thing, which employee care, and second is what are the critical products at that time to manufacture, because you may not have sufficient manpower. Though whatever the care we have taken, some employees definitely could not turn up. For various reasons, like transportation could be one of the biggest issue, and some people went to their native places but they could not come back. So there are many, and some people really fell sick and they could not also join us, and also timely availability of the people. Maybe for the first shift many people may attend, but for the night shift it is difficult to get the people. So there are so many constraints which we have faced. So our prioritization was to just take the product which is critical to the market. That's the first thing. So there are so many products which may not immediately required. Okay, you may have to stock them up sometimes and give it. But today crisis is only to give the product which is critical to the market. That's the first priority. Then of course, I can say that is the second priority after employee. Then third is supply. How we need to ensure the raw material. So we need to just balance what raw material is going to be available for how long. Then prioritize the available raw material to the product of priority. Then, these are all the day-to-day activities which we focused. So apart from physically present during the office hours, and we used to do all these activities after coming home. So we, senior leadership team at site and corporate, who basically interact on these areas in the evenings, late evenings, and try to come out with the plan of action for next few days or next couple of weeks, so that the priority products should be given to the market. That's the area where really we have put a lot of efforts, and to the best of our surprise, or I can say, that situation was used even online training to the people, because nobody is going out from the home after reaching to the home. There is no personal activity per se, because any entertainment, nothing. There is no, so people are available at home. So we try to gather them online and give training also. So effective training was happening even during that period, I can say. So that was one of the good learning, I can say. The pandemic has, this is the opportunity actually.
Yeah, so after the pandemic has ended and when you have returned back, so how was the operations going? Did you have to put in more effort, or was it
Yeah, see, after the pandemic, certainly it's a great relief for the industry because the supplies are continuous. Then whatever the backlog products is a priority now. So we just focused on those areas of now backlog product, and then ensure that they are manufactured and then supplied. And of course, during pandemic, the regulatory inspections also got postponed for many of the companies. Some products which are waiting for the approvals to market were delayed. So now that was the area of focus post-pandemic. Even regulatory agencies like USFDA or EDQM from Europe or MHRA from UK or many such regulatory bodies which are very important in the pharma approvals for exporting the product to the respective countries. They started also taking up more and more audit, and they have also deployed more manpower for doing the audits, so that the drug availability has to be improved for their people in their countries also. So now we are ready. We came up with that challenge to face regulatory audits, a spate of regulatory audits post-pandemic. So that was one of the challenges which we have faced, but successfully we have completed. Fortunately, all our group companies where we had audits, successfully we have completed. Of course, there will be some minor observations which are not impacting the approval process. So that's that.
So, and now that we see the global uncertainties, the geopolitical tensions, the conflicts that are happening, how do they have any direct or indirect impact on the operations in industry?
Sure. For example, take the current war of Iran, America, yes, and Israel. So we some of the raw materials, particularly petroleum products like HDPE, which comes from petroleum industry. So HDPE is one of the good packing material in the pharma industry used. So there is a shortage. So there is a price increase. So same way, some of the organic solvents, which are again from petroleum derivatives. So the supply has become scarce and the prices have gone up. Now again, it is for us to see alternates. In case of packing material, alternate to the pharma industry is very, very typical. It is not easy to change overnight. So you need to put up a stability study for the product with the change in packing material, and you need to wait for the data to generate. Then if the product is stable, then only you can submit the data to the regulatory agencies and wait for their approval. So it's a long process. So the challenges are very. So what as an organization, in some of the cases, not just because of this sort of crisis, anticipated things, we started working on cost minimization very early days itself. So I can say at least a couple of years back onwards, we started working on many alternate packaging development in case of HDPE, what we can do. So we started alternate, like for example, corrugated boxes, because HDPE mostly comes in secondary or tertiary packing category. So in APIs. So we started working on different materials, and for some products we have developed the data and generated the data, given it to regulatory bodies for their approval. So incidentally, that is helping us today to overcome the crisis of this supplies due to geopolitical scenarios. And of course, we do have good solvent recovery processes. So we started strengthening our solvent recovery so that the shortages of fresh solvent supply due to this geopolitical scenario. So we try to minimize that so that our productions, the production chains does not get interrupted, and
so we are
our production is. We are rather recycling the solvents. So we improved on that process. So of course, everywhere the regulatory requirement approval is very, very stringent. So as an organization, for cost minimization, we have anticipated all these things well in advance, not only for geopolitical reasons. So we started working on that, and for every process we try to do a recovery and then put into reuse, then do the validation, submit the process details to the stability studies, and then after generating the data, again waiting for submitting to a regulatory body and approval. So this is a continuous process in industry, how to minimize the cost. This helps in this sort of scenarios. And also most of the, coming to the geopolitical scenario, I think our government of India, you all may be knowing that China is one of the biggest source for many of the raw materials for pharma industry. So that is one of the area where it is a danger for every country, only depending on China, because China can become a monopoly and they can play with the pricing, they can play with the supply, and they can even stop the supplies to make a crisis in a country. I mean, so how to reduce the dependency on this sort of issues? So that's where Government of India, I think 3 years back, has brought the PLI scheme, production linked incentive scheme, for various industries including pharma. So that's where Aurobindo Pharma has been selected as one of the company under the PLI scheme by Government of India, and backward integration projects we have started to make the starting materials, which are now coming into just manufacturing operations already. So we started trials and we are seeing the benefits of that. So that the dependency on China is, or even for example any other country, we need to reduce. So that's where I really appreciate our Government of India for bringing that scheme. And today the cost of drugs we are able to sustain because of that. Otherwise we have, I mean, one of the raw material, I don't want to take the name, so it went up to even $45 to $50 per kg, which was sometime earlier was somewhere in the range of $15. And today again the same PLI scheme has helped. The same China is hardly supplying that same raw material around $20 nearby. So that's where I appreciate the government decision on this.
So as you mentioned the point that there might be delays in the raw materials, so till now, at least till now. So do we use buffer stocks or something like that, or is it more of real-time adjustments in such scenarios?
I mean, there are cases where we used to even learn or understand from various other industries like Toyota, Japan. They always call just-in-time concepts. But the same concept we also used to think, but it hardly works every time, because the time for manufacturing and supply and its consumption is not so easy, and because these are all chemicals which are degradable, which doesn't have long-term storage requirements, and even if you want to use it for longer periods, it can lead to impurities and quality may impact on the end product. So the balance of both just-in-time and just-in-case concepts have been adopted and they are going well. So again, in this sort of crisis, inventory buildup is one of the things which we have to, every company has to work on that. So I'm sure all established companies, they are well aware of these sort of scenarios which can come up and anticipating these things. We do store, we do develop external stores, and we also develop agreements with our suppliers to keep the stocks with them. So even regionalization, like developing local sources than depending on other countries. So those sort of things are on continuous process. Our company is also working on that. So this is definitely helping us in overcoming this sort of uncertain geopolitical scenarios.
So what are the challenges that you usually face in the pharma industry with the competitors as well that are present?
Yeah, see, there are certain specialized manufacturing sectors like injectable manufacturing. So sterile product is very, very important, because any contamination, the drug is directly going into the patient blood. So that is very, very risky. When compared to the tablets or capsules which are taken orally, which are less risk when compared to the injectable drug. So now the availability of the people with the sort of skill for working in injectable manufacturing is becoming a very challenging aspect for us. So also industry is growing. Many companies are expanding their manufacturing activities, and the future of pharma industry is going to be personalized medicine. Now, personalized medicine is mostly coming from injectable manufacturing, biologics, vaccines, and those sort of areas where the sterile manufacturing is very, very critical. So the availability of people with that experience or expertise is one of the challenging activity in the industry which we are facing currently. And another biggest challenge is, in general, people are preferring to get into IT sector than manufacturing like pharma. So this is another biggest challenge we are facing. Of course, the flexibility of working from home or sitting in a luxurious office or AC office and work environment when compared to industry where they need to work in shop floors. You don't need, even you don't have those comfort zones like working in an office. So probably that is another area. And the level of initial incomes are very fast in IT sector. So in pharma that starts slowly. So these are all the factors for the current Gen Z generation. Basically they are not coming into the industry much. So this is where what we are trying to do as an organization. We are going to the rural areas and we are reaching to certain colleges, campuses, interviews where we take the people, and in some cases we take even +2 where further they are not able to study because of financial reasons. So we offer them, you join with us, we train you, we give the opportunity for studies, further studies. So you work for us for 3 to 4 years, and during that period we pay for your studies and we propose you to join certain institutes, and this helps us in definitely, we are trying to overcome this sort of manpower challenge, skilled manpower challenge. And coming to the unskilled, till date, we can say we are depending on mostly from northeast and such states like Bengal, Assam, Orissa, where unskilled or people are coming and joining, because those states are not having much of resources for work, and also industry is not there much for them to get the job. So they were there available. Now today, the industry is also developing in those states. So people are going back. So it is a time for us to automation. Yes. Also, that's the area where really these are the challenges which we are trying to overcome by immediately adapting to different new technologies and bringing automation, closed process systems, and complete machinery with closed transfers, automated transfers, so that the human intervention or physical movement of material on the shop floor with the labor intensive work, such things we are trying to bring down. So this helps us in overcoming the challenge which we are now, it's like in transition of that challenge currently, you can say.
Sir, and you as a leader, it's such a huge role, to be honest. And how do you build teams? Like, how do you maintain teams? Because everyone should be on the same page, and you need to maintain the consistency, especially with the strict regulatory compliances that you have mentioned about.
Yes. See, what is in this field, knowledge is very important, and practical approach to the operations. Theory sometimes may not work on the shop floor. So one has to have now hands-on knowledge about the machinery. What can go wrong in that? So it's once, for take myself alone, I started working from a small pharma company way back in 88, and I used to operate on the machine. Maybe operators were there, but still, along with the operators, as a supervisor, I used to work on the machine, understand the machine complexity, then you can have the grip of where it can go wrong. So same thing I keep telling to my juniors, and if you hands-on see the operations, then you will get to know what can go wrong, where we need to focus, and if something goes wrong, how to overcome that situation, and sharing the knowledge. This should be the one which is the most priority. I keep sharing the knowledge to my team. Whatever the topic, whatever the questions they bring it to me. Basically in pharma, the regulatory knowledge, particularly in injectable manufacturing, a lot of questions are during regulation. So how you will face that, how you can overcome them, and anticipate well in advance what are the those days of manufacturing, when we started our career, the audits were focused mostly on quality, just only on quality of the product testing of the product testing. Today it is on manufacturing operations, because quality is built from the operation. So that's where the audit. So it is not just the testing knowledge alone is important like earlier days. Today you need to have quality assurance per se on every area of activity, whatever you do. So it could be from raw material receipt, storage, handling, dispensing, transferring, putting into the process, how the process parameters are controlled, and how the process outcome is coming. Even you may have a certain range of yield, but if the yield variation is beyond certain limit, that means there is something have happened in the process. So that what could have gone wrong? Just don't think that batch has passed when it is tested and quality wise probably it is okay to consume. But what has gone wrong to get that lesser yield? Or even sometimes you will get more yield in the process. So what good thing happened to that particular process? Why we cannot replicate that in every day, every batch, every process, and so that company can have better control on such aspects. So these are all the various aspects which everybody should keep monitoring. So for that, what we do is we have developed, fortunately due to the technology advancements like AI-based tools of Microsoft. So we use advanced Excel sheets, and our IT department has also provided certain dashboards. So every data, we have a ERP system. The data, whatever has been generated from the shop floor, it is converted into dashboards, and dashboard is available for us 24/7. So as seniors, the dashboard is helpful for us. Then also certain data we take from even the shop floor directly, which are not related to the basic output or input parameters and testing parameters, but also the in-process parameters. So we take those data, analyze them. So there are teams which develop, and we develop them to just work on those analysis and continuously keep giving the feedback to us. And there is a quality assurance who reviews all the processes, the batch processes, whatever happened, what could have gone wrong, and we do annual quality product reviews, trends. So that is another area of a very important regulatory requirement. So it is not that you have right first time every product has been produced. How consistent you have produced. So any spikes within the quality given range, but if that spike is there, what could have gone wrong? I mean, this is a requirement from regulatory body, and we need to give justifications for that, and we need to investigate such what are called outliers and see that they are minimized in coming next manufacturing time whenever you do that. So various controls, various things, everybody has to focus and learn in these areas. So the team, I keep talking to them. My role is sitting in the office or going to the shop floor, and if I go to shop floor, I will talk to only the shop floor workman, not the supervisor or to the department that in charge of that, because I want to see what discomfort he is facing. I want to understand from him what are the difficulties, challenges he is facing on the shop floor. Is he getting really the support, training or any other requirement which makes him comfortable in working? So, and does he really has the knowledge of the job, what is he doing? I just interview him so that this process makes motivate. And it is rather, if he is not aware of something, what he is on the job working, definitely I question his superior, not him. So it is, as seniors, we need to get onto the shop floors like we do, like works helps them to interact with the people. Okay. So that makes, and we do LDMs, lean, studies every day. We put it on the board and we call the supervisors on the shop floor and let them interact. We just monitor them. There are KPIs given for them. So today, have you done the number of batches, whatever supposed to produce? And are there any quality issues? So the knowledge should go to everyone on the shop floor. If they involve, they participate. So these sort of mechanisms we have adopted on the shop floors so that the team is getting learning the requirements of pharma and their job and how to improve their skills. See, once you start interacting, their doubts come out and they can clear their doubts. So that's where these processes help us in developing the team, basically.
So, sir, such an insightful discussion, honestly, and I think we'll just wrap it up. And my last question for the day is, we as students, we have to learn a lot, actually, from someone like you. So what are some tips or, some improvements where we can do so that if we want to enter into the operation sector or the pharma industry, what are some things that you can...
Yeah, I mean, one is... qualification is one of the things to work in operations. Of course, core operations requires the science-based or engineering-based qualifications minimum, and whereas the ancillary, like even a BBA student like you, could come into pharma industry in the supply chain field. So what my guidance to you people is basically, if you want to get into really the supply chain area, now there are certain specific supply chain courses, certificate courses from various premium institutes on pharma itself.
Okay.
So I recommend to you people to just get into that certification courses, so you will understand the basic requirements of such things. Then, of course, technology learning. I mean, the pace at which the technology is coming up, AI. So these are all the tools where you people have to acquaintance has to be improved, and then use them in your. It will be helpful for you to in the work area, like blockchain technology, IoT. I mean, so many things are coming up, and these are all the areas where I think mostly useful in procurement, supply chain, logistics, sales and marketing, finance. So these are all the ancillary areas where pharma also requires all these supports. So at the same time, for the technical people, now there are companies associating with the industry for internships. So I always recommend every student should undergo with a industry internship cycle, at least 3 to 6 months of internships. And there are certain universities like I remember in Vizag, Andhra University has come up with a specific pharma course for the students. So because the pharma industry is established there in Vizag, and there is a tie-up between the Pharma Industry Association with Andhra University, and the students coming out from the university are being absorbed by the pharma industry there. So this is a relationship between educational institutions and industry. So these sort of arrangements are helping the students really to get familiarized, and okay, these are the basics at least we need to have before entering into the industry, I can say.
Thank you so much. It was such an insightful session, honestly, because conversations like these, provoke us to do something much bigger, because nowadays we do not even think about, when we think about medicines, it's just the smallest of the smallest medicines. Also, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and the people, the team behind the scenes, the precision, the decision making, the accountability that takes, it's really very enlightening, and it's a pleasure for me to have you on this episode.
It's nice talking to you, and really pleasure, and happy that I'm sure it is helping, is going to help you, and also to the your friends in this area.
Yes.
So apart from this discussion, even if you are really interested to get into the pharma industry, I'm sure I can definitely guide you and help you on that aspect.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Aurobindo, committed to healthier life.